So really the evening before, when all the predictions were for all this rain, I thought they were a little overstated.
Rained all day, and there was flood watch, but there's flood watches all the time in Montpelier and in Vermont. We knew that if there was a flood event, it would definitely affect the downtown area, the way that we're situated at the convergence of two rivers. I went home to my house, which is on the North Branch River, and had a bit of a sleepless night thinking about the water rising.
We were actually meeting with a friend at our house to review some plans for something we're working on. And when he went to leave, the water had come up so fast that it was up to the floorboards of his car. And that's when we realized we were in trouble.
I was at home watching my cameras on the cafe, and that's when I started to see our floor mats kind of start to move a little bit. And that's when I noticed that water was finally trickling in at like 6:15 a.m. The water got to right at the railing and kind of took over all of downtown.
So the Winooski River has already crested in this area. Unfortunately, folks downstream are still waiting for the crest today. But look at the floodwater. I mean, it's the entire downtown area that is really engulfed in floodwater. You're talking about overtaking cars, it's getting into structures. And so today they're having to do cleanup, but there's still probably some standing water in some spots because you can't even make out one street. I mean, it is so extensive. Look at these cars, only the tops of them can you see. That's a truck, a utility truck to the left that you only can see the cab.
So this low area here is where most of the water got into City Hall. The water came in, filled that up, and then came into here. Electrical, all that kind of stuff, this all got flooded. This was our teen center, all wrecked. I mean, this really shouldn't be here because if we got another flood, it would all be wrecked. We did put them on pallets in case it was a small one, but ultimately we didn't have any other place to put it. So this year was the high water mark. For all of this, and you can see this was the 92 flood, this was the high water mark, and this is kind of what we were planning on, something like that. The water came up to about here, as you can see in that photo.
Not only was it the river, but all of our sewer systems were backing up. It was really, really nasty waters.
So we had barricades across that intersection to prevent people from coming in, and we watched cars drive around the barricade and into the water and then stall out in the water and want help. So go figure. The fire station itself was an island. So that's a decision we have to make too, is do we invest and rebuild that? Do we invest in this building, put it back, try to flood proof it, try to make it as functional as we can, which is where it's been for 100 years. Or could we use that building and use it to repurpose it into like office and meeting space, the lost space from City Hall, flood-proof the front of it, keep those historic doors, but put flood-proofing behind them so that, they look like fire doors, but they're really not. And convert this to usable city space that could be, elevated and then build a new fire station. You think you've made all your plans. So the police station out of the flood zone, this hillside, right behind the police station, you can see the water was so heavy it started flooding down the hillside, and you can see some of those back doors, that's where their utilities are. So it started seeping in and got into their electrical and that kind of thing.
Oh no.
So that's why we had to move the dispatch in the middle of the night. It wasn't because the building itself was getting flooded. It was because the runoff from the hill was compromising the building on the inside. You think, okay, we're in a building that's safe, until it's not. I mean, you can't have, You can't have your emergency operations center shut down because its generator's gone and its electrical's gone and its computers are gone. So it then had to relocate to the water treatment plant up on the hill.
If you can have emergency plans ready, course of action, plan B locations to reset up your operations, all those pieces, when an event happens, it's really hard to do those things all at once. So the advanced planning is invaluable to respond to any kind of event like this.
When the waters receded, we actually set up a physical tent and a table and a laptop computer.
People could go there and say, I want to volunteer. And they'd say, well, from 2 to 3, FOTI needs 4 people. So can you go there? And, so the businesses would make a request of the hub, and then the hub would match the volunteers to the businesses. We need 5 people for 3 hours. Good, go down there.
Kind of evolved organically, but people really came down to help out their neighbors.
People just started coming out of the woodwork. I mean, there was people showing up from Virginia and North Carolina and other states that have dealt with floods, and people were just coming and everything was getting thrown into the streets. Like, everything was trashed. All of our equipment was trashed. It was kind of chaos, and about 3 days into it is when it started to really seem to get a little bit more organized chaos. We had a lot of people who had their first time ever referred to the food pantry. The food pantry was flooded. So, in fact, the volunteer hub set up a pop-up food pantry where community members could donate. Another role of the hub was that people were able to donate goods, even furniture, in that dry location. So we stood up that food pantry, which was then taken over by the actual food pantry staff and managed right there at the hub station. We were able to instantly pop up a fundraising platform on our website, and we're a nonprofit. We're able to take in all of those donations. We raised, together with the Montpelier Foundation, a local foundation, over $2.6 million within a few months that we immediately turned around into grants for these businesses because we saw that gap. We noticed that they would not be getting FEMA help. They were only qualified for SBA loans. So we were able to pivot in all of those different ways. And really what kept crossing my mind is this is the true meaning of revitalization work. And we are a revitalization organization. We just have to start from scratch right now and rebuild our city. We should all be involved in this work, and that there is no place that is untouched by climate change. We should all be expecting, unfortunately, a natural disaster in our communities. And we should be preparing for that on many different levels.
It was this awful event, but at the same time, it brought everybody together, and everybody was, downtown pitching out, helping out, making sure that people got what they needed. And people kept coming.
You can never ask for too much help. People will show up and they will help you from literally all walks of life. It was incredible.